Welcome everyone to Coin New Yen Review channel. Before we dive into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share so more people can discover us. Enjoy the show. My wife was caught in an unexpected car accident. The doctor told me she had lost her memory. She might not remember the things between us for now. I stood outside the hospital room. Just then I heard her roar in disbelief. What kind of joke is this? I'm someone who doesn't believe in marriage. How could I possibly be married? And so tight-lipped about it. Seeing me, she bristled like a startled cat. Back then it was she who relentlessly pursued me. But that very night this woman who swore she craved freedom suddenly clung to my leg. She buried her face in my knees, her voice soft as a ball of cotton, calling me husband. Please don't abandon me. She seemed like a stray cat nobody wanted. When I reached the hospital room's door, I overheard Bizarre's voice, fragile as tissue paper. The door wasn't fully closed. Through the crack, I saw her head wrapped in gauze. Yet she sat on the bed brimming with life. Su Yurong, what kind of joke are you pulling? I've been single for over 20 years. Since when did I have a husband? She spoke as if she'd heard the most absurd joke, her tone laced with frustration and resistance. Su Yurong's voice carried a hint of exasperation. Sister, don't get worked up. The doctor said you've lost your memory. It's normal to forget your husband. Beijairu snapped at me. I'm warning you, stop calling him that. The room fell silent for a moment. Su Yurong lowered her voice. Still earnest, sister. Your husband has been by your side these past few days. When he's tired, he naps by your bedside. Even the nurses say his devotion to you runs deep. While you were unconscious, you kept calling his name. When your husband comes in, don't say anything reckless, or you'll regret it. Beijairu went quiet for a few seconds, then sneered, impossible. Keep making up stories. I'm a staunch believer in staying single. I'd never get all of a dovey with a stranger, all mushy and sentimental. I froze for a moment. My gaze dropped slightly. Suddenly, I hesitated to push open that door. I met Beijairu in a university club. She fell for me at first sight, then launched a relentless pursuit. Back then, I was at the lowest point in my life. My family was drowning in debt, and my father had vanished, leaving my mother to hold our crumbling home together alone. I hadn't planned to join any club activities, but a friend dragged me along saying it'd earn extra credits. As I pushed open the classroom door, Bizarre's loud voice startled me, making me want to bolt. My friend didn't notice my hesitation, eagerly pulling me in to introduce me to everyone. I glanced at Beijairu by chance and saw her cheeks flush red, her expression dazed, like she'd down too much cheap wine. In that moment, my impression of her sank even lower. But the next day, she came to confess her feelings. I've always been wary of people, especially someone as frivolous as her. I kept my distance. But Bizarre's persistence was almost masterful, nearly reaching a level of perfection. Every day, rain or shine, she brought me 3 meals. When she heard about my family's situation, she tried to send me money directly. I refused her, so she started waiting outside the shop where I worked part-time, picking me up and dropping me off. I thought she'd give up after a few days, but she kept at it for a full 6 months. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit. Yet the days with Beijairu stretched to 182. In the end, I had to admit, I'd grown used to her presence, and so we became a couple. Over the years, her love for me never wavered. She cherished me like a treasure. The moment we graduated from university, we rushed to get our marriage certificate. But just half a month ago, Beijairu was in a car accident. I pulled myself from the memories, forcing down my emotions. Smiling, I pushed the door open and said, I'm here to take you home. Beijairu turned her head. Seeing me, she froze as if time had paused. Stunned for a fleeting moment, her face slowly flushed. Not the sudden blush of surprise, but the kind that comes when a secret is caught, trying to hide it yet pretending it doesn't matter. She turned her face away, her lips twitching despite herself. Forcing a cold expression, she said, Who are you? Su Yurong let out a relieved sigh, immediately shouting, Brother-in-law, you're here. Finally, I nodded at her, walking straight to the bedside, folding the jacket by the bed and tucking it into a bag. Then piece by piece, I packed her toiletries and spare clothes. Her words were hard as stone. I said I don't know him. Stop calling him that. Why are you calling him my brother-in-law? He's not my husband. Alright, I said lightly as if chatting about the weather. You'll sleep on the sofa when we get home. The bedroom's all yours. She shot up like a cat with its tail stepped on. Who's going home with you? Are you out of your mind? I don't even remember you, so why are you clinging to me? I ignored her, continuing to pack her things. Soo-young reached over to help with the bag, accidentally brushing my hand. I didn't think much of it, but Bae-jae-roo exploded like a firecracker. Why are you touching him? Have you been eyeing him this whole time? Well then, you just didn't do something shady while I was unconscious, did you? After bottling up my emotions for days, they finally burst. I'd been terrified for her for half a month, juggling the company and her care, barely sleeping a wink. Now that she was finally better, the doctor said she could go home to recover. But what awaited me was a cutting remark. I clenched my teeth, grabbed the shirt with the bear print, and flung it at her face. It landed with a heavy thud. She froze. I turned, grabbed the bag, and walked out without looking back. Tears welled in my eyes, but I held them back. I'm not a weak person. On the contrary, I'm strong. Back when my family was in debt, I didn't rely on anyone. I paid it all off myself. But ever since I got together with Bae-jae-roo, she treated me like a treasure, never letting me lift a finger for chores. She did all that housework, handed over her entire salary. Her friends teased that others are henpecked, but she was the one happily under my thumb. Not only was she unbothered, she reveled in it, even a little proud. She used to say her greatest fear was seeing me cry. It'd make her flustered, unsure how to comfort me, so she'd clumsily hold me, repeating over and over, "Don't cry." My wife, it breaks my heart. But now she yelled at me, accused me of clinging to her, even suspected I'd done something with someone else behind her back. The person who once couldn't bear to say a harsh word to me now looked at me like I was a stranger. I'd been spoiled by her love for too long, and for a moment I couldn't handle the contrast. The doctor said her memory recovery was uncertain. It could take days or even 2 or 3 years. I'm not a saint, nor am I that selfless. If she truly never remembers me, I won't wait in place forever. I drove home, pushed open the door, and lingered by the entrance. My phone pinged with a message. It was from Soo-young. Brother-in-law, she's really not herself. After her outburst, she just sat on the bed staring, not saying a word, her mind still foggy. Don't take her nonsense to heart. I didn't reply. Truthfully, I knew Bae-jae-roo was injured, her emotions unstable. I should be understanding. But emotionally, I couldn't bring myself to keep putting myself out there. She was acting like she'd regained her freedom, probably feeling lighter than ever. I tittied up briefly, took a shower, and soon the doorbell rang. I just finished bathing, my hair still dripping. I opened the door in a bathrobe, and there stood Bae-jae-roo, her clothes a mess, even wearing slippers, holding a box of strawberries, looking utterly sheepish. She blinked, like a kitten who'd done something wrong. She spoke softly, testing the waters. "So you're home, huh?" I shot back coldly, turning to go inside. She hesitated, but followed me in, tiptoeing cautiously. She slipped off her shoes, took the pink bunny slippers from the cabinet, set them by her feet to put on. I cut in sharply, "Those slippers belong to my wife. You can wear them. The ones next to them are for guests." Her movements froze. She stood rooted to the spot, unsure whether to put them on or not. Bae-jae-roo scratched her head, chuckling awkwardly. "This is a bit awkward, isn't it?" Wiping my hair, I asked flatly, "Didn't you say you don't know me?" She seemed to flinch as if I'd hit a nerve. Lowering her head, she mumbled, "That's not what I meant." I stared at her, my tone still calm. "Then what did you mean?" She blurted out in a rush. "I was just nervous. I say dumb things when I'm nervous. Don't take it to heart." I scoffed. "I'm not taking it to heart. Why would I get mad over someone who doesn't matter?" Bae-jae-roo scratched her head frantically, nearly tearing her scalp, still at a loss for words. This person, after losing her memory, not only forgot me, she'd turned into a complete fool. She used to spout sweet nothings effortlessly, smooth-talking silver tongue, churning out flattery like it cost nothing. Now she was a tongue-witty dimwit. I saw it clearly, whether she remembered or not. Deep down she was still a silly dog. I glanced at the box of strawberries she had been clutching. She finally snapped to thrusting them toward me. I bought these just for you. My phone's notes say you love strawberries. For a moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the end, I decided to let her off the hook. She'd just been discharged, still injured. Making her sleep on the sofa felt too harsh. So I tittied the guest room, changed the sheets, set out a new towel and toothbrush on the sink. The guest room's at the end of the hall, I said curtly, turning to head to my room to rest. Beijairu stood there watching me, suddenly calling out, "Your hair's still wet. Don't sleep yet. You'll get a headache." I paused. A buzz ran through me. I softly closed the door, walked to the bathroom and grabbed the hairdryer. She used to always nag me after my showers, trailing behind insisting I dry my hair, or I'd wake up dizzy and stay in bed. Even if she didn't remember, her habits hadn't changed. That night I didn't sleep deeply. Half dreaming, my throat felt dry. I slipped on a robe to get water from the living room. As I opened the door, my foot barely stepped out when I kicked something soft, nearly tumbling forward. My heart jolted. I looked down, and there curled up on the floor by the door was a person, Beijairu, lying just outside. No blanket. Her body hunched tight, looking terribly uncomfortable. I stood there stunned. She stirred, woken by the noise. Her lashes fluttered. She opened her eyes gradually. The next second, like a reflex, she croaked out, "Husband." Before I could say anything, she wrapped her arms around my leg, burying her face in my knees. Her voice soft as cotton. "I'm scared you'll abandon me." I stared speechless as she clung to my leg like a stray cat nobody wanted, cast out in the rain, cold and pitiful. "You have a bed, but you're out here playing the victim." I scolded her softly, yet I sighed, reaching down to help her up. She leaned into me, her whole weight pressing against me, as if afraid I'd leave her behind. Desperate to glue herself to me, I brought her back to the room, planning to let her lie on the bed for a bit. But as I set her down, she grabbed my waist, burying her face in my chest, holding tight. "Don't go," she mumbled softly, "just stay until I fall asleep." I tried to pull away, but she held me so tightly, I found it hard to break free. "Fine, let it be." I stopped moving, letting her press her face into the crook of my neck. Her entire body nestled in my arms. The night was heavy and still. Leaning against the headboard, I closed my eyes as my breathing steadied. Unknowingly, I drifted off to sleep. The person in my arms grew quiet, like a kitten finally reunited with its owner, sinking into dreams amid a familiar scent. The next morning, I woke in a warm embrace. Sunlight slipped through the gaps in the curtains. The room was wrapped in silence. Soft breathing came from my side. One shifted slightly, realizing my waist was still tightly held. Glancing down, I saw Beijairu clinging to me. I tried to nudge her arms off, but instead of letting go, she tightened her grip like a startled animal, pressing herself even closer, leaving no space between us. I sighed helplessly, resigning myself to lie in her embrace a while longer, letting her hold me. Her chin rested perfectly in the hollow of my shoulder, her breathing steady, carrying a familiar warmth. I slowly lifted my eyes, tracing her face with my gaze. She slept deeply, her brows calm, her long thick lashes fanning down like delicate wings. I noticed her cheeks were thinner than before, the line of her jaw more defined. She looked noticeably leaner. A pang of heartache stirred in me. In just half a month of not eating well, she'd wasted away like this. As I ached for her, her lashes suddenly fluttered, as if stirred by the morning light. Seconds later, she slowly opened her eyes. Her gaze collided with mine. She froze for a moment, her eyes still clouded with the haze of waking, as if she hadn't grasped the situation. I was about to say something to greet her, when she suddenly jolted upright. Yu scrambled away from me, grabbing the blanket to cover herself, her face flushed with panic, like a maiden who'd been compromised. "I knew you had ulterior motives." I stared at her exasperated big sister. Maybe check whose room this is first. You're the one with ulterior motives. She froze, looking around. The green plant by the window, the scented candle on the desk, the direction of the wardrobe, and the pair of couples' bunny dolls by my bed. Only then did she realize this wasn't the guest room. It was the master bedroom. She scratched her head, muttering to herself in confusion. Since when do I sleepwalk? I couldn't be bothered to engage. Rolling my eyes, I threw off the covers and got up to wash, arguing with someone whose mind wasn't fully online. I must have too much time on my hands. Tying on an apron, I headed to the kitchen to make breakfast, but I kept feeling something hovering behind me. Turning, I saw Beijiru standing at the kitchen door, fidgeting, tapping her foot, touching her nose, like a stray cat just taken in, unsure of its place. Hesitating to step forward, I put milk in the microwave to warm, then leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching her with amusement. Her discomfort grew under my gaze. She stumbled, tripping over her own feet, nearly face-planting. I raised an eyebrow. What are you pacing around for? She awkwardly rubbed her hands, trying to curry favor. Just seeing if there's anything I can help with. I paused. Since we'd been together, she'd handled almost all our meals. Her cooking was impressive, homely dishes bursting with flavor. I'd grown used to her in the kitchen, but this Beijiru no longer remembered our past. I figured her culinary skills were likely lost with her memories. I casually said, go fry a couple of eggs. Her eyes lit up instantly. As if given a grand mission, she chirped, got it. Agreeing eagerly, she scampered into the kitchen. I went to the living room to pour water. A while later, she carefully carried out a plate, saying, take a look, presenting it to me like an offering. Her tone carried a hint of pride. What do you think? I glanced down. The 2 eggs were fried into heart shapes, though a bit lopsided. I could tell she'd put in real effort. Beijiru stood before me, her eyes sparkling, a smile tugging at her lips, like a kitten awaiting its owner's praise. I could almost see an invisible tail behind her, wagging furiously with joy. I couldn't help but pat her head, thanks. She froze. Not the fake playful kind of freeze, but the kind where her mind seemed to blank for a second. Utterly dazed, I looked at her stunned expression, said nothing more, and turned to bring the rest of breakfast to the table. I didn't want to dwell on what she was thinking. After breakfast, I cleared the table, grabbed the car keys, saying, change and come with me to the company. Beijiru blinked up. I shot her a look. Didn't you say I shouldn't have ulterior motives? Now I'm taking you somewhere proper, so hurry up. She scratched her head, a bit confused, but obediently went to change. After graduating university, the Bai family handed the company to Beijiru to manage. Though she seemed carefree, she'd kept the company steady over the years. While she was hospitalized, I'd been overseeing the company. A few restless types tried to stir trouble, but I shut them down without mercy. Still, it was the Bai family's business. When it was time for Beijiru to step up, she had to. Now was the time for her to show her face and settle things. Though Beijiru usually seemed silly, the type to apologize after scolding, she was sharp when it mattered. The company meeting was crisp and decisive. A few old foxes who loved to posture were left speechless by her. It was clear, even with her memory gone, her commanding presence remained intact, not diminished in the slightest. It was nearly noon when we left the company. I planned to grab a quick bite nearby, reaching for the car door. Before I could touch the handle, a shrill horn blared nearby. A flashy red sports car was parked by the road. The window rolled down, revealing a provocative smirk. It was Izuding, Beijiru's lifelong rival. She wore an extravagant dress, neckline plunging to her chest, her hair styled deliberately. Linmo, I heard Beijiru forgot you. She smirked. Why not come with me instead? It'll cover your food, your home, your love. I couldn't be bothered to respond, but Beijiru, ever impulsive, was instantly provoked. I turned my head and saw Beijiru storm over, grabbing Izuding's hand, raising her arm as if to slap her. I shouted, Beijiru, don't start trouble. She froze as if paused mid-motion. Izuding smirked triumphantly. Beijiru glared at her fiercely, let go of her hand, and reluctantly walked back to me. I glanced at Yizuding, said nothing, then turned to Beijiru calmly. I need to talk to her for a bit. You head back first. Beijiru's eyes widened. She bristled instantly. You're going to talk to her alone. Her face was full of shock. Can't you see she's up to no good? You're going to be alone with her. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache coming on. Stop assuming everyone's out to get you. Softening my tone, I explained. If it weren't for her help stabilizing the company, I'd have been sidelined long ago. Where would I have found time to care for you in the hospital? Beijiru frowned, still stubborn as ever. I sighed, reaching out to smooth her ruffled hair. Be reasonable. I have real business to discuss. She stared at me for a few seconds, her expression reluctant. But under my gaze, her ears slowly reddened. She muttered, come back soon. I didn't reply, just nudged her, go on. Stop standing around. Her head drooped, looking deflated. She mumbled, text me when you're done. Yizuding and I sat in the cafe downstairs from the company. By the window, sunlight streaming in, people passing by. The atmosphere relaxed, but the air at our table was tense. Yizuding dropped her usual carefree attitude, her expression serious, her gaze sharper than usual. If got leads on what you asked me to look into. My heart tightened, but I kept my face neutral, sipping my coffee. She paused, her voice low. It was deliberate. Beijiru's car accident wasn't an accident. My hand froze. My fingers tightened around the cup. Have you found out who did it? My voice was as calm as ever, but my eyes betrayed a storm brewing beneath. Yizuding's face was grave. No hard evidence yet, but we've got a solid suspect. I exhaled softly, as if a weight in my chest had shifted slightly. Good. I looked up at her. Keep digging. I need you to stay on this. This kind of thing, I can't trust anyone at the company to handle. She didn't speak, just watched me, waiting for me to continue. I paused, then added, you and Beijiru may fight like cats and dogs, but you're still tied by blood. I've seen how you two bicker and clash, but when it matters, you're the one I can trust. That's why I'm asking you. I hesitated, then added, if you ever need help, just say it, and if I can do it, I won't hesitate. Yizuding chuckled lightly, raising her coffee cup to clink mine. No need to be so formal. She sipped, then casually asked, I heard she lost her memory, remembers everyone, but forgot you. I paused. I didn't want to discuss this, especially not with Beijiru's rival, but I couldn't brush her off, so I answered flatly, yeah. The doctor said her recovery time is uncertain. She clicked her tongue, making a vague sound, then flashed a mischievous grin, her eyes glinting with a hint of malice. If I rile her up a bit, maybe it'll jolt her memory back. I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned in, all mysterious, lowering her voice, like we could pretend to be a little flirty in front of her. I don't believe she'd have no reaction. I gave her a deadpan look. You're just using this to get back at her. She laughed opally, showing off her sharp canine teeth. How could I? I'm thinking of your future happiness. She paused, her voice taking on a teasing edge. With that temper of hers, all that reckless talk when she first lost her memory. If you really care about her, you should let her face a little lesson, a bit of a shock, maybe one spark, and her memory will come rushing back. I sipped my coffee, my mind conjuring Beijiru's flushed, stubborn face, her sharp words still stung. Thinking of her accusing me of clinging to her, a spark of vengeful desire flared in me. I met her gaze. Let's try it. And just like that, we were in agreement. After finishing our coffee, Yizuding set down her cup and looked at me. It'll drive you back. I thought for a moment, and didn't refuse. Her flashy sports car still drew eyes. At my doorstep, I pushed open the car door. She got out too. I turned and reached to adjust her open collar. Leaning close to her ear, I whispered, your temperament hasn't softened after all these years. Haven't your family been pressing you to settle down? Yizuding let out a soft laugh. Mimicking me, she leaned in to speak, her voice carrying a hint of defiance. I don't care what they think. She paused, her lips curling with a knowing smirk. But that little puppy dog outside has been giving me trouble. Letting him stew for a bit isn't a bad idea. I grinned watching her treat him well. Don't mess it up, or you'll be the one crying chuffed. I only deal in money, not feelings. I patted her shoulder, take care, then turned to head inside. As I opened the door, just stepping into the entryway, a sudden force pinned me. Beijiru somehow had been waiting by the door. She pushed me against the wall, her arms bracing on either side of me, her breath quick and emotions raw. I saw her leaned in, teeth clenched, her voice trembling with a mix of feelings. You and her so close together. You even fixed her clothes and hugged. Harry tilted my face up, my gaze unflinching, even carrying a hint of defiance. You saw it wrong. My tone was calm. We're innocent. I paused, then added, and even if there was something, it's none of your business. Beijiru's eyes widened, as if I'd stabbed her in the heart. None of my business. Her voice broke, pitching high. Listen to yourself, is that even human? I'm not dead yet, and you've already found someone new. Seeing her eyes redden with anger, her expression aggrieved, I couldn't hold back a laugh. My laughter only fueled her fury. You're laughing. I see it now. You don't care about me at all. He let my smile fade, my gaze growing heavy. You're wrong, I said softly. I care about the you from before. I paused, my eyes scanning her from head to toe. But now you've forgotten me, and your mind's gone dull. I narrowed my eyes, my face showing faint disdain. I don't like you anymore. Beijiru looked as if she'd been struck by a heavy blow. Her whole body froze in place, her shoulders slumping instantly. But I didn't stop. I went on. My wife was smart, gentle, and caring. She treated me so well, never letting me feel the slightest grievance. But she lost her memory. I sneered. If she never recovers, I can't just mourn her forever. For the sake of my future happiness, forget finding someone new. I'd have a different woman every day. I spoke with gusto, a careless smile on my lips, not noticing her eyes growing redder, her chest heaving violently, as if she'd explode any second. Suddenly she lunged forward, roughly pressing her lips to mine. Fueled by anger and urgency, she bit me hard, as if punishing me or claiming ownership. Our lips and teeth clashed, breaths mingling, her tongue pried open my mouth, invading without restraint, carrying the frantic heat of her rage, a wild torrent. At first I tried to pull away, but soon I let her have her way. Though she'd lost her memory, her kisses hadn't lost their skill, until a faint saltiness touched my lips. My heart skipped. She was crying. I snapped my eyes open to see her face, but she covered my eyes with her hand, blocking my view. Her palm trembled slightly, burning hot, as if she was desperately holding back a flood. Moments later, she slowly ended the kiss, leaving a feather-light peck on the corner of my lips. Then pulling away, she turned and fled out the door in a panic. I stood rooted in place, my face burning. Damn, I'd gone too far, and made my little silly cat cry. After Beijiru ran out, I waited in the living room for a long time. As the sky gradually darkened, I thought she'd just gone to cool off, back in 10 minutes at most. Time ticked by, but the familiar sound of her footsteps never came. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number. No, and Swery called again. Still no response. My grip on the phone tightened, a thread of unease creeping into my heart. She's still recovering from amnesia, and now she's learned to run away from home. I leaned against the sofa, sighing softly. Was I too harsh? I shouldn't have provoked her like that. Her mind's still healing. She's as fragile as a child, and I kicked her when she was down. Thinking back, regret washed over me. She used to spoil me so much, always giving in to me. Even if I gave her a single off look, she'd coax me carefully for ages. Now that she's the vulnerable one, I couldn't bring myself to soften right away. I pinched the bridge of my nose in frustration. A sudden thought hit me. I looked up. She wouldn't have gone to pick a fight with Yizuding. That fool! I hurriedly called Yizuding. The call connected, and loud bar music blared from the other end. The noise grated on my nerves. Yizuding's lazy voice cut through the background. I asked immediately, has Beijiru gone to you? She paused, then burst out laughing, her tone dripping with amusement. What, you drove her away? I was instantly speechless. From her gossipy tone, she clearly knew nothing. I spat out coldly goodbye. A rushed plea came from the other end. Hei hung up without hesitation, then dialed Su Yurong. The phone rang for a long time before she picked up. As soon as it connected, I got straight to the point. Is Beijairu with you? A brief silence followed. Then she stammered guilty as hell. Brother-in-law, listen. I didn't need her to say more to know the answer. I let out a breath, finally feeling grounded. No longer restless like before. Her mind's not fully recovered. Don't let her get too worked up. Look after her emotions. Bear with her if anything comes up. My tone softened. After all, Su Yurong wasn't an outsider. She'd seen Beijairu and me through our journey. She agreed instantly, her attitude eager. Before I could say more, she hung up quickly. I frowned, puzzled by her haste. They're probably at some bar. The sisters drowning their sorrows together. I could almost picture Beijairu, where she was, who she was with, and what she was doing. Probably drinking with her sisters, pouring out her heart over shots, saying things like he doesn't love me anymore. He's looking for someone new. He thinks I'm stupid. They always thought that since Beijairu married me, I'd keep her on a tight leash. No going out, no gatherings, no socializing. But that wasn't true. I never stopped her from doing those things. It was Beijairu who didn't want me to worry, didn't want me waiting up, didn't want me to lose sleep. She skipped those drinking parties, turned down those dinners, tucked away her pride completely, just to spend more time by my side, to be a devoted wife. Thinking of this, my gaze softened, my heart melted a little. Maybe when she comes back I won't hold it against her. But if she comes home drunk, I'll still have to punish her. Beijairu gone all night. I didn't call to rush her back. It'd be a lie to say I wasn't worried. But I knew she wasn't the type to get lost easily. By the next evening, the front door finally clicked open. I looked up from the sofa, seeing her standing in the doorway, covered in the dust of travel, a trace of exhaustion in her eyes. I opened my mouth to say something, but she beat me to it, walking toward me, like a child who'd done wrong. She asked softly, were you really worried about me? I glanced at her. Turning away, I said coolly, what do you think? She fell silent, then suddenly reached out, pulling something from her pocket, and placing it before me. It was an old photo, slightly yellowed, one corner creased. It was us in our university days. A snapshot outside the clubroom. The sun was bright that day. She was grinning like an idiot, and I stood beside her. I froze for a moment. Her head was bowed, her voice soft. I took this off the wall in the clubroom. Yesterday I asked Su Yurong to take me through the places where we first met. The clubroom, the library, the cafeteria, the endless benches, and the milk tea shop where you worked. Her words felt like she was savoring them, or confessing. I couldn't speak, my throat tightening. She lowered her lashes. I thought I'd remember something, but I didn't. I looked at those places and felt so empty inside, like so much had happened, but I couldn't grasp any of it. I slowly lifted my eyes, seeing her, radiating an unspoken frustration and guilt. I'm not okay with this, she said suddenly. I don't want you to carry our memories alone. I want to remember you too, even just a little. In that moment, my eyes burned. I finally understood. She wasn't indifferent, nor did she forget carelessly. On the contrary, she'd been desperately trying to remember me, to recall our shared past. But her struggle was so solitary she didn't dare tell me. Are you an idiot? I asked softly, my voice catching. She panicked, fumbling to explain. I wasn't hiding it. I just thought, if I couldn't remember anything, you'd be disappointed. I stepped forward, lightly tapping her forehead. You ran off without a word, gone all night. Do you know how worried I was? Beijairu looked at me, as if something clicked. Her eyes reddened slightly. I'm sorry. She lowered her head, pulling a small box from her pocket, and handing it to me solemnly. I paused, slowly taking it. Inside were 2 new matching rings, nestled quietly in velvet. Their silver gleam nearly dazzled me. I took off the old ring after I woke up, she said softly, her voice tinged with regret. Back then I didn't remember you. I thought I'd somehow ended up married. I resisted and put it away, but I regretted it later. Beijairu took a deep breath, her gaze cautiously settling on my face. I fell for you at first sight, before and after my memory loss. As long as in Beijairu, I'll fall for you again and again, Lin Mo. So I want to wear it again, to start over with you. As she spoke, I took a ring from the box, dropping to one knee. Just like when I first proposed to her, her eyes grew redder as she watched. I softly called her name, Beijairu. Will you? Her eyes brimmed with tears. I will. I said nothing, just pulled her into a fierce embrace. My face pressed to her chest, hearing her heartbeat steady and familiar. I closed my eyes, my voice soft. It's okay if you forgot me. As long as you still like me, we still have a future. She held me tightly, her voice firm and precious in my ear. I'll love you for a lifetime, not just once. I couldn't help but smile, though tears rolled down my face. See, you forgot me, but you still remember to love me. This time, from the moment we put on these rings, we're back at the beginning. But that's okay. From now on, I'll walk with you again, from meeting to falling in love, from doubt to trust, until we step into the halls of marriage once more. Even if it's the second time, let's stay together. The end.